Good afternoon. The Senate Committee Natural Resources will now come to order. Can our beautiful secretary please call roll?
Chair Cruz Crawford,
Here.
Vice Chair Scheibel,
Here.
Senator Pazina,
Present.
Senator Hansen,
Here.
Senator Ellison.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Welcome our audience here in Carson. It looks like we have some audience in Las Vegas today and those joining us over the phone. Before we begin, we will have a few housekeeping items today. When you are testifying, please turn your microphone on and it will be green when it's on. That helps pick up everything so we can get all the minutes correct here. And turn it off when you're listening. And if you have any handouts for the committee, please provide 10 copies to our committee secretary prior to your testimony. In addition, any exhibits and amendments must be submitted electronically as PDF file to our committee manager no later than 3:30 p.m. business date before the meeting. Committee information is available on Nellis, which can be accessed through our state legislator website. And you may also watch our meetings through Nellis or on our YouTube channel. We ask that public comment be kept to 2 minutes. Written public comment may be submitted before, during, or up to 24 hours after the meeting's adjournment. And members of the public may provide testimony on a bill either in person or by telephone. And finally, please mute your electronic devices, especially your cell phones, during the meeting. And today we're going to be hearing two bills. We're going to be hearing Assembly Bill 40 and Assembly Bill 487. And with that, I will now open the hearing on AB 40. This is a measure that revises provisions relating to environmental hazards. We have our bill presenters, Jennifer Carr, the Administrator of Division of Environmental Protections, Rick Perdomo, is that correct? The Deputy Administrator, and if you can introduce yourself as well. We have allotted 15 minutes for the bill's presentation, and you may begin when you are ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Cruz Crawford, Vice Chair Scheibel, members of the committee. I'm Jennifer Carr, C-A-R-R, Administrator of the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection, or NDEP. With me today are two of my deputy administrators, Rick Perdomo and Jeffrey Kinder. We appreciate the opportunity to present Assembly Bill 40, and it addresses two primary items. The first being mechanisms to ensure fiscal recovery of state expenses in the event that NDEP must step in to address threats to public safety, public health, or the environment. The second overall topic is clarification of existing authority related to solid waste management and hazardous waste recycling. These changes in solid and hazardous waste management are shifting the theme of law from those focused on disposal to one focused on appropriate management of waste, which also tie into the financial assurance components such as bonding, as we strive to learn from our history and ensure that we can be proactive with emerging industries and get it right from the start. We seek to balance a growing economy while working to ensure that unsuccessful business ventures do not adversely impact Nevada. The bill is in three distinct parts. First is an NRS 519A addressing mine reclamation, the other two being NRS 444 in solid waste management, and NRS 459 for hazardous waste management. I do want to quickly thank the local health districts, the Nevada Mining Association, and industrial recycling industry representatives in battery and solar sectors who worked hard with us to achieve consensus on the language today. For ease of review and consideration, we have provided a two-pager, a summary overview document that boils down the bill into key areas of language and program changes, and much of the latter portion of the bill makes conforming changes. We'll be speaking to reprint one of the bill. However, I do know that there's a non-substantive conceptual amendment before you today that addresses a few items in the Assembly amendment that we could not fix before the first House passage deadline. Changes to those 6 sections in the Senate amendment align with the agency testimony presented in the Assembly hearing. If desired, we can walk through the conceptual amendment or answer questions at the pleasure of the chair. Before I pass testimony to Rick Perdomo, I will note that this is a 2/3 bill because in time, emerging solid and hazardous waste management businesses will require permits, and those emergent sectors represent a future increase in permit-related revenue under existing regulations. And LCB also flagged the provisions for cost recovery. However, while these sections do technically create revenue for the state, it is reimbursement of expenses when we must step in to protect public health, public safety, or the environment. There are no other new fees or revenue created by the bill.
Thank you, Administrator Carr. For the record, I'm Rick Perdomo, NDEP Deputy Administrator. I will first address Sections 10 and 18, and then the lien provisions in Sections 11, 25, and 35 together, as they are similar in substance. Section 10 grants NDEP authority to temporarily suspend all or part of a reclamation permit and take over process fluid management where the permit holder has demonstrated that it lacks capacity to manage process fluids in compliance with the law, and that continued mismanagement presents an imminent danger to human health, public safety, or the environment. This action requires NDEP to provide notice of the violation and the corrective action needed to cure it with appropriate due process. Reinstatement of the permit will require both fixing the violations and repayment of state funds used to stabilize process fluids on their behalf. The suspension authority is intended to be consistent with USBLM's authority to suspend a plan of operations under similar circumstances, as well as existing prospective enforcement authority in Nevada's water pollution control law, and that's NRS Chapter 445A, which NDEP uses in its mining regulation program. Next, Section 18 clarifies the state's authority to review a federal plan of operations and reclamation cost estimate to ensure they protect the state's water resources and provide for reclamation of impacted land. This section is intended to clarify the state's role as an active participant in the review process and protects the state's natural resource interests. Finally, Sections 11, 25, and 35 authorize the state to lien the personal and real property of a mine or solid or hazardous waste facility. The right to lien arises when the state is confronted with a financial risk, which include expenditures of public funds to address an imminent danger or hazard to public health, safety, or the environment, or two, a financial assurance deficiency. In all cases, the lien is intended to secure public expenditures against the assets of the facility versus a status of unsecured debt that puts the state at risk of non-recovery or limited recovery. During development, the division researched provisions from several surrounding western states to which this proposal has similarities. The lien provisions also borrow concepts from NRS Chapter 108, which provides statutory liens, including mechanics liens, to ensure repayment of services. These new lien provisions provide the state with an additional tool to ensure necessary expenditures by NDEP are recoverable when financial assurance is insufficient or when cost recovery is complicated by a federal bankruptcy proceeding. I'll now pass the presentation to my colleague, Jeff Kinder.
Great. Thank you, Rick. I'm Jeffrey Kinder, Deputy Administrator with NDEP. The management of solid and hazardous waste is done under a combination of state law and delegation of the Federal Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, or RCRA. NDEP administers this federal program as delegated by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. For the Solid Waste Management Program in NRS 444, NDEP is tasked with developing plans to manage non-hazardous industrial and municipal solid waste, set criteria for disposal sites, and prohibit open dumping. Solid waste management is increasing both in breadth and complexity as more industries expand to Nevada, and more options for management of solid waste are emerging in place of simple landfilling. Much of the solid waste management system, that is storage, collection, transportation, processing, recycling, or disposal, is regulated by our health districts and/or municipalities under regulations adopted by the State Environmental Commission, or SEC. But local governments can be more stringent. This bill does three primary things for solid waste management. First, managing solid waste can take many paths that do not always end in a landfill anymore. While landfills have many prescriptive requirements within the NRS, the broader term solid waste management facility is mentioned in existing law but not currently defined. Therefore, in sections 22 and 23.5, work together to provide a basic definition of solid waste management facility with subsequent establishment of regulations adopted by the SEC to specify solid waste management activities that could present a hazard and therefore necessitate NDEP oversight and establishment of financial assurance by the owner. That is, our intent with this language is to establish the types of activities at solid waste management facilities that would require more prescriptive requirements as adopted through a rulemaking effort at the SEC with input from our stakeholders. An example of this type of facility would be a materials recovery facility. Second, sections 24 and 25 establish financial assurance requirements for solid waste management facilities and NDEP's authority to file a lien as discussed by Rick, when NDEP must act and expend funds to protect public health, safety, or the environment. Lastly, sections 23 and 28 prevent hazardous waste from a very small quantity generator, as defined in federal regulation, from being disposed of at a municipal solid waste landfill. While many Nevada landfills already prohibit this practice, current law does allow for it, and NDEP's concern is that not all landfills in Nevada are lined, which may allow for the migration of hazardous waste from the landfill to waters of the state. Hazardous waste is a subset of solid waste. However, federal requirements pertaining to hazardous waste management are much more prescriptive than those for solid waste management. This bill shifts the context of Nevada law by focusing on the management of hazardous waste versus traditional treatment and disposal, recognizing emerging opportunities for recycling and providing our businesses with a clear and consistent regulatory framework. Additionally, financial assurance requirement and lien provisions are addressed in this section as well. In this section, we are proposing to add the language, conserve material and energy resources through hazardous waste recycling or recovery to the statute's purpose statement, update the definition of management of hazardous waste to include the term recycling, and provide for other changes to cleanup provisions that have not been updated since 1981. In summary, Assembly Bill 40 works to safeguard Nevada's natural and fiscal resources when an entity cannot fulfill their environmental responsibilities under the law. Nevada values a diverse and robust economy across various industries, but it is critical to manage them carefully and prepare for the possibility of a business becoming non-viable. Addressing statutory gaps is imperative to equip NDEP with the tools necessary to accomplish our goals. The statutory changes proposed in this bill seek to provide a backstop to financial assurance resources, further ensuring they cannot be redistributed in whole or partially to other creditors, and Nevada can be made whole when NDEP must step in and take action. Beyond the topic of financial assurance, shifting our approach to solid and hazardous waste responsibility to one of management of waste versus disposal of waste are intended to set up Nevada well for the future. Now we're happy to entertain any questions the committee may have.
Senator Ellison, and you can go direct. Thank you.
Thank you. How many dump sites have been checked out right now, or you say if they're not lined, or can you answer that?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. Jeff Kinder for the record. I don't have those numbers. I can get that information for you, but generally in the larger counties, the larger landfills do have lining. It's the smaller rural landfills that typically do not have liners in place.
Okay, and then following up with that, if they had to go back and put a liner in it, what do they do? Do they try to abandon that landfill and do another one? Or how do they do that?
Thank you again for the question, Senator. Jeff Kinder for the record. Great question. So typically we cannot go back and line a landfill, so that cell that would be unlined would be abandoned. We would put monitoring in place to ensure that its integrity, and if necessary, a new cell would be lined to current code standards.
Yeah, and that's strictly like for counties and cities, is that what this is addressing? You're not talking private, like old ranches and stuff like this, right? Or are you?
Jeff Kinder for the record. In any municipal landfill that would require permitting, could be both public or private.
Thank you.
Senator Hanson.
Thanks. Actually, the question I have is there's several amendments to this thing. And have you guys, which amendments are we talking about? Are these friendly amendments? Are they from you guys? What bill are we actually addressing? This, first of all, first we had a 112-page bill, and judiciary today, which was quite, and now we got another one that's like, I'm sitting here pretending like I know what I'm reading, but it's obviously over my head to a certain extent. But then in the amendments, you have a whole, almost a substantial additional things. I'm not sure if they're friendly, if they're what you guys want or what. So what are we looking at here exactly?
Thank you, Senator. Jennifer Carr for the record. So the amendment that we provided that's dated May 5th at the top is a list of 6 sections. You do mention the length and the depth of the bill. It was hard to write to begin with. LCB did a fantastic job converting it to statutory language for us. And then as we went through the winter, we made a number of amendments with stakeholders as we got ready for our assembly hearings. And there was a lengthy amendment to the first presentation of this bill. It did come up within just a day or two of the first House passage deadline. And as we were reviewing it, we found a couple of things that we just got crossed up a little bit on. And so we need to do some additional fixes. So these are our amendments to the bill as it came out of the assembly, just to tweak a few things to make sure that the intent, our intent is clear.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page as far as amendments. I thought it's actually dated 2nd March, or version 2, March 13th, that's when we're talking about? No? Proposed conceptual amendment, Nevada Division of Environmental version 2, that's not it? What am I looking? Oh, you got a May 5th one. Okay, I'm glad I'm asking, because I was wrong. I didn't have the right amendment then. I don't know, I'll have to dig into that. But bottom line is, it's all friendly amendments by you guys, it's not, okay, all right.
This amendment is much shorter than the amendment that we had the first time.
Okay, yeah, well, there's a lot of not very short stuff in this, but I got it. The other question I did have is on the whole, you and I met about the whole situation in Churchill County, how you guys got stuck foot in the bill, and how the liens were insufficient, and then the courts were using the bond as a asset for everybody, not just for you guys. It looks like, and I've been reading this, that's all protected. You guys now in the lien procedure are on a situation like that. You are now the highest priority one, so that in a bankruptcy proceedings, you guys would not be sharing the bond with everybody else who may be trying to get something out of the bankruptcy proceedings?
Yes, thank you, Senator. Jennifer Carr for the record. Rick can elaborate if necessary, but yes, it does changes from an unsecured creditor to having a statutory lien.
Good. Well, no, I want to make sure that, the taxpayers in Nevada don't get stuck cleaning up messes because, in this case, a mining company went bankrupt. So, very good. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Senator Pazina?
Thank you so much for the presentation, and thank you for meeting with me in my office as well. I had a question in regards to section 51.5, and just, I guess, removing the exemption, existing law gives the opportunity to conduct certain inspections relating to hazardous substances and authorizing the department to issue orders relating to hazardous substances, and that hasn't applied previously in counties with populations less than 55,000, and this bill removes that exemption. And I didn't see that changing in the amendment, so I just wanted to confirm, was there a reason? Is it because, you mentioned earlier maybe there have been challenges in smaller counties? I was just curious why that was removed.
Thank you, Senator, for the question. Jeff Kinder for the record. Yes, we are proposing to move that exemption for all counties so that we can work with counties when it comes to solid and hazardous waste management.
Thank you, and it wasn't because of a particular situation, it was just something you wanted to do in general, but there wasn't anything that triggered that?
Thank you again for the question, Jeff Kinder for the record. We are seeing a large number of industries coming to the state, and a lot of them tend to locate in rural counties. So we want to be able to make sure that we can work with them no matter what size county they locate in.
Okay, seeing no other questions, we will have you step back and we will take testimony in support. We will now be taking support testimony for AB 40. If there is anyone here in Carson, anyone in Las Vegas may step up and we'll begin support testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Kyle Davis, today on behalf of the Nevada Mining Association. We're here today to testify in support of AB 40. In Nevada, the mining industry and the Division of Environmental Protection have a long history of working collaboratively to develop tools to protect waters of the state and for estimating the cost of mine reclamation. Nevada's reclamation and surety program has been recognized as robust and systematic both nationally and internationally. As you heard earlier, NDEP brought AB 40 to strengthen their ability to prevent the release of processed fluids and to reduce financial risk to the people of the state in the event of an unplanned mine closure. The agency approached the Nevada Mining Association last year and began to work cooperatively with us to refine this bill, resulting in the legislation that's in front of you today. We feel that this collaboration has produced terms which will avoid undue burden on responsible mining operators while bolstering protections for the environment and for public finances. We support the legislation and we urge its passage. Thank you for your time. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
AVH, is there anyone on the line that would like to provide support testimony for AB 40?
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to testify in support for AB 40, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Once again, if you're just joining us and you would like to testify in support to AB 40, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to provide support testimony at this time.
Thank you. Anyone in Carson like to provide opposition testimony for AB 40? Seeing none, anyone in Las Vegas that would like to provide opposition testimony for AB 40? AVH, is there anyone on the line that would like to provide opposition testimony for AB 40?
If you would like to testify in opposition for AB 40, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to testify in opposition at this time.
Anyone here in Carson that would like to provide neutral testimony for AB 40? Seeing none, anyone in Las Vegas wanting to provide neutral testimony? Seeing none, AVH, is there anyone on the line that would like to provide neutral testimony?
If you would like to testify in neutral for AB 40, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you. Would you like to provide any closing remarks? No, we have waived our rights to closing remarks, so I will now close the bill hearing for Assembly Bill 40. And thank you so much. Okay, before we start our next bill hearing for Assembly Bill 487, we'll give them a moment to clear the room. I wanted to go over some rules of engagement, some ground rules. This is a pet bill. There's a lot of emotions that are involved with the pet bill, and I wanted to make sure that we keep our presentations and our public comment, and I know our assembly member agrees with us as well that we'll be presenting. No personal attacks. There's no name calling in regard to any of the testimony, and keep the testimony when you are going to be sharing in a positive manner. Okay, great. And not for the presentation, I'm talking about public comment. Sorry. Okay, perfect. So we are going to start the Assembly Bill hearing on Assembly Bill 487. So if you can please come up. Okay, so AB 487 is a measure that revises various provisions relating to the sale of certain pets. We have Assembly Member Anderson, our other chair on the other side of the House of Natural Resources, and her two presenters, which we'll introduce. And we have allotted 15 minutes for your bill presentation. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, and it's nice to see you again, Chair Crawford, as well as members of the Senate Natural Resources Committee. Again, my name is Natha Anderson, and it is my honor to represent Assembly District 30 and also to be Chair of the Assembly Natural Resources Committee. I'm joined today by Rebecca Goff and Warren Hardy of Humane World. Mrs. Goff brought this bill forward, the ideas of this bill forward, I think it was in December, based upon a pretty incredibly cruel situation. And I think that's one reason why possibly you gave those remarks right at the beginning, is to remind us that just as we need to treat each other with dignity and respect, we need to do the same thing with our pets. And sometimes there are situations that are not that way. As opposed to me going into it, with the chair's permission, if I could possibly hand it over to Ms. Goff, who's actually the expert in this, and so can go into it a little bit more detail. If that's okay? Thank you, Ms. Goff.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Cruz Crawford and members of the committee. My name is Rebecca Goff, and I'm the Nevada State Director for Humane World for Animals, formerly known as the Humane Society of the United States. I'm here today to present AB 487, which would phase out the sale of dogs and cats in retail pet shops. Due to the serious animal welfare and consumer protection issues posed by puppy-selling pet shops, 8 states, including the entire West Coast, and over 500 localities, including Clark County, Reno, North Las Vegas, and Mesquite, have prohibited the sale of puppies in pet stores. Henderson barred any new stores from selling puppies, and Las Vegas attempted to address the problem with regulations, but attempting to regulate puppy sourcing and requiring increased transparency in Vegas has merely exposed just how awful the puppy mill to pet shop pipeline is, and that this model of selling weeks-old puppies at retail is simply too broken to fix. We've come to the legislature because it's critical that this issue be tackled statewide rather than a patchwork of local ordinances. After Clark County's ordinance went into effect, some stores merely moved out of unincorporated Clark County and into Las Vegas city limits. If Las Vegas were to stop the sale of puppies in pet shops, you'd have stores still trying to reach that market in the next town over. And there's nothing stopping a multinational chain like Petland from opening a store in Incline Village or Sparks, which recently had its only pet store close, or any other cities for that matter. So what are some of the major issues this bill addresses? Puppy mills. The data doesn't lie. Public records show that Nevada pet shops import puppies from awful Midwestern puppy mills that no consumer would knowingly support. Breeding dogs are treated like breeding machines, with no regard for their wellness. Under USDA standards, they can be kept stacked in wire cages that are only 6 inches longer than their bodies for their entire lives. They can be bred repeatedly until their bodies wear out, and then they can be killed. As if this isn't bad enough, USDA and state inspection reports show that Nevada puppy stores are buying puppies from breeders that don't even meet these low standards. The puppies suffer immensely too, both at the puppy mill, during the long transport from the Midwest to Nevada, and at the stores. Again, the data doesn't lie. There's no denying the nightmare these breeding dogs and puppies are subjected to every day. Deception. Puppy stores tell customers what they want to hear to convince them to buy a puppy, often for thousands of dollars. They make promises of humane breeders and healthy, well-socialized puppies, but this just isn't in line with the facts. Sick puppies. From the puppy mill to the long, stressful transport to in-store conditions, these poor, weeks-old puppies have the health decks stacked against them. Last year, an undercover investigation into 6 Nevada puppy stores revealed massive issues with sick puppies. At Puppy Heaven in Las Vegas, one puppy, Cindy Lou, was left alone to suffer in the pet shop's back room. It was only after our investigator called law enforcement, who directed the store to take the puppy to a vet immediately, that she was given care, but it was too late. She died at the vet's office. Cindy Lou continued to be showcased to customers on the store's social media even after her death. Also at Puppy Heaven, many other sick puppies were denied urgent vet care. Staff treated sick puppies themselves with ad hoc remedies, and the manager told law enforcement she wasn't aware that state law required her to have puppies declared healthy by a veterinarian before sale. At Puppies for Less Cheyenne, a tiny Chihuahua was coughing, refusing to eat, and having breathing issues. Rather than rush him to the vet, the staff put him in a makeshift nebulizer made of a plastic storage bin with holes drilled in it, and we don't know the ultimate fate of that puppy. At Puppies for Less, Sky Point, there were many sick puppies, and one recently sold puppy had parasites and kennel cough, but the customer was only refunded $60. For context, according to Care Credit, the average vet visit in Nevada is $88, so that refund wouldn't even cover that. At Puppies for Less Sahara, an employee described the store's attitude towards customers. Quote, your puppy will get sick. It will happen, end quote. Buyers are required to sign a form that limits their ability to return sick puppies or obtain reimbursement for veterinary costs. At Petland Henderson, there were many sick puppies, including those with signs of respiratory illness and even a puppy with a mass on his head. Staff were medicating puppies with oral syringes that they had been reusing. Many sick puppies do make it long enough to be sold into a new home, that family who often suffers immense and emotional and financial tolls. Predatory lending. Few can afford a pet shop puppy outright, so stores push puppy loans through third-party lenders, which often just lead to more financial hardship. My colleagues confirmed that all 15 pet stores in Nevada push puppy loans on their customers. Complaints show that customers have ended up with interest rates as high as 188%. Now, if you're wondering how this is possible, puppy lenders evade usury laws by partnering with FDIC-regulated banks. Sick people. The American Medical Association and CDC have warned people of an ongoing antibiotic-resistant infection from the contact with pet shop puppies that has sent many people to the hospital. In fact, a family in Ohio is currently pursuing legal action against Petland after their new puppy that they purchased from them infected the father and 2 young children with Campylobacter. The reckless antibiotic use in this industry is just another example of its disregard for animals and consumers. So, why is AB 487 the solution? Stopping the sale of puppies in pet shops entirely is the only solution to the wide-ranging problems that puppy stores pose. The whole system is far too broken to try to fix, and at the end of the day, you can't do the wrong thing the right way. Fortunately, the right thing is also the business-friendly thing here. New industry stats show last year Americans spent $152 billion on their pets, with food, treats, and products spending dominating, along with in-demand services like grooming. Leaders state that the pet products and services industry is resilient and expected to continue to grow as Americans spend more and more on their pets. Most pet stores, except for 15, already do not sell puppies, but rather thrive as part of this booming products and services market. In fact, 45 Nevada pet shops have endorsed this bill. That's 3 times the number of pet stores in support of this bill compared to the numbers directly impacted by it. Those 45 stores in support feel so strongly that no pet store needs to, nor should, sell puppies that they're supporting a bill to ban the practice adhered to by only outliers in their industry. As originally presented in the Assembly, this bill also included a broad outdoor sales provision, which was hoping to address the bad actors selling puppies in parking lots and such. We responded to concerns from stakeholders about this. We decided to come to a compromise by removing that entire section via amendment. Additionally, we are here to assist any pet stores in their transition to a more humane business model. As one Clark County store told media after the ordinance passed there, losing the ability to sell puppies wasn't a big deal for them because there were other profit streams. That store is now an Asian-inspired grooming spa and complied with the Clark County ordinance even before they were required to. AB 487 is also the common sense solution to our puppy store problem because no Nevadan needs to go to a pet store to find the dog of their choice. Our region has a wide network of shelters, rescues, and responsible breeders who sell directly to the public because they aren't ashamed to show where and how their dogs are raised. Our website even features a guide on how to identify a responsible breeder. Lastly, this bill will help ease the burden on our overwhelmed shelters. Pet shop puppies are likely to be sick or have behavioral issues, and this means they're likely to be relinquished to shelters and rescues. Pet shops also thrive on impulse sales, So even if a puppy is healthy, some people quickly realize they can't care for that puppy, and those pups end up in the shelter system. And it's unreasonable to continue to import all these puppies into our state where our tax-funded municipal run and our private nonprofit shelters are bursting at the seams with adoptable pets. We love our pets here in Nevada, and allowing pet shops to import thousands of puppies from awful puppy mills, selling them like they are mere products, is not in line with who we are. It's not the Nevada way. AB 487 can bridge that divide and allow us to bring our nation one big step closer to that day when puppy mills no longer exist. On behalf of our Nevada supporters and animal lovers across the state, I urge you to support AB 487.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. Warren Hardy, representing Humane World for Animals. I want to, at the outset of my brief comments, just indicate that I've been in this building for over 35 years, and there are issues that arise that sometimes are so passionate and so concerning that it causes people to do stupid things. And I will say I've been made aware this afternoon of some personal ad hominem attacks that have occurred to some of my colleagues in the lobbying corps. And I want to state unequivocally that is not appropriate, has no place in this building. A bill should rise or fall on its merits, and its merits only. So I aggressively distance myself from any such attacks, ad hominem attacks. I've never used that tactic in 35 years in this building, and I never will. With regard to the bill, I wanted to just address a couple of things I've heard in the hallways. The first thing I've heard pretty predominantly is that this will put puppy mills or pet stores out of business. I would simply counter that with the facts. As one of our presidents once said, facts are stubborn things. Petco is a company that does not sell pets or dogs and cats. They do sell supplies, they do sell healthcare, they do sell other things. They have they reported $6.1 billion in revenue in 2024. PetSmart was the largest, which reported $10 billion in sales in 2024. There are individuals in this business that are figuring out how to make a profit, how to provide jobs for their employees without selling puppies. I will also say that for me, I believe if you followed my career at all, which I don't know any of you would, but if you had, you would know that I believe the obligation or the opportunity for government to get involved in businesses is about that narrow. I can think of very few times in my career where I've supported government intervention into business. This, however, is a last-ditch effort. I have been involved with the Humane World for about 12 years now and have tried, I can honestly tell you, tried every alternative to banning retail sales to this bill. This is a last-ditch effort. I can honestly tell you I don't know how to do it. The other thing I've heard from opponents of the bill is that we're fine because USDA regulation covers this. I'm going to tell you, after 12 years in this business working with this client, USDA regulations in this area are worse than no regulation because they give the public a false perception that something's being done to regulate this industry. As my colleague, Ms. Goff, said, the regulation for these animals that are bred and kept on site is that they are in cages 6 inches longer than their body. That's not overnight. That's not sometimes. That's their entire life. If I did that to my dog, I would be arrested. So, Madam Chair, I wish there were an alternative to this. And the other thing I'll tell you is I know that what little budget USD has for regulating these animals and these facilities is going to be on the Doge chopping block. So there will be no regulation. But again, I think it's worse because it gives the public a false perception. So with that, Chair, I appreciate your consideration. I wish there were another way. Trust me of all people, wish there were another way other than regulating businesses on this. I can't think of one. So I appreciate the Chair's time and I appreciate your consideration of the bill.
Senator Pazina.
Thank you so much for the presentation, and thank you so much for visiting my office. It's always good seeing you. I did have a question, and I didn't see anything in exhibits, but I was just curious if you could provide us. You mentioned the Midwest puppy mill route to pet stores, and I was just wondering, I guess, where that information came from, if I just didn't see anything in exhibits that showed, I guess you were talking about facts, that just showed that proof. And I'm sure you have it. I just wanted to, thank you.
Yes, we do have, in the packet that we handed out to senators, oh, I'm sorry, I always mess that up. May I please go direct?
Name two.
Oh, Rebecca Goff. Thank you. Senator Pazina. Yes, in our packet, we do have some documents that show where the puppy mill and which pet store purchased that. And that was traced through public record requests through like health certificates and things like that that can trace where the puppy was actually born and bred and where it ended up, which pet store. So that's how we have that information. I can submit it to the secretary of the committee if that would be helpful. Apologies for not doing that ahead of time.
Thank you, Chair. And the document we have, which we'll provide to you in the committee, Warren Hardy again for the record. And as the kids say, we have the receipts, but in this case, we have the actual receipts that these were purchased by these pet stores and the corresponding puppy mill that they were purchased from. And we will be happy to provide that full information to the committee.
Senator Hansen and then Senator Ellison.
Thanks, Madam Chair. No, we've met extensively, went through your package, horrible, all the stuff you're seeing in there, no dispute. But, you know, we have kind of, there was a similar thing, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago about chickens being raised in cages, and now you have options. You can go and buy cage-free eggs and things like that. It would seem like if there is a market for dogs and cats, puppies and kittens, if you will, that there would be some incentive if I'm going to go and buy in fact, I know I've had at least 3 dogs that were purchased when my puppies that were purchased by my daughters when they went to a pet store somewhere. And next thing I know, I have this really cute puppy that when it wasn't so cute anymore, I got to raise for the next 10 or 15 years. But is there any way when it comes on the breeding side of this? Because when I looked at all the documents you provided that were horrible, most of them were in the Midwest. But is there any that are legitimately good? If I'm going to go to a pet store and they can say to me, these puppies that we're going to sell to you were raised under humane conditions that have been monitored by, some agency or something. Is there no sources like that available at all?
Rebecca Goff, may I go direct? Thank you, Senator Hansen. So there are reputable breeders, and that's who, if you do have like a specific breed of choice, that's who we recommend you go through. And some of the guidelines for what makes a reputable breeder would be the ability to visit the animal and the premises where the animal was raised. The reason why these puppies are sold in pet shops and not directly at the mills themselves is because, as you see from the photos, if your average citizen were to see the conditions these pets were kept in, they would be appalled. We're all appalled at these pictures. So a reputable breeder has you come to the property. You usually get to meet both the mother and the father of the dog as well. You see how they're raised. You see the socialization that's happened. There's also genetic and health testing that they perform. A lot of reputable breeders care very deeply about the integrity of the breed. Oftentimes these dogs go on to be show dogs and things like that. So it's very important that the dogs are not passing on genetic problems to their next litters. So for example, if we're looking at like a German Shepherd, they're going to do genetic testing to make sure it's not passing on hip dysplasia. That testing does not happen at puppy mills at all. So you have no idea what kind of genetic cocktail you're going to be getting in these puppies. And that's why frequently you do find these puppy store puppies have congenital defects that aren't discovered, of course, until they're in their homes and have a little time to develop or grow. Sometimes those things show up later as they age. So those are kind of the things that are looking for in a reputable breeder. And then the last thing would be how frequently they're bred. Your average reputable breeder probably only has maybe 1 or 2 breeding dogs, and they might only breed them once a year. A puppy mill has hundreds of breeding pairs on their site, and they breed them every cycle. So there's no way that a reputable breeder could keep up with the pet store demand. In our research, we find that the average pet store in America sells anywhere from 500 to 1,000 puppies a year. Your mom and pop local breeders never going to be able to meet that amount of volume. And then a lot of times those breeders also have stricter contracts that require, like, if there is a problem, they'll take the animal back and they'll care for it, versus the pet stores that, as we saw in our undercover investigation, it's kind of on you, the consumer, if something bad happens. Or I've heard of some cases where they're returned and then who knows what happens to the puppy. Does that answer your question?
Yes, actually, because you and I discussed it too. One of my first purchases ever was a black lab, it was AKA registered. So I didn't see the parents, but we saw a very careful genetic background for hunting purposes at the time. And there was a guarantee about hip dysplasia. I remember that because that is a problem that had come up. But you did mention, you have huge demands for these things. In the absence of having a retail outlet or some sort of certified wholesale methodology of bringing this demand to the marketplace, aren't you concerned about basically creating a black market type of scenario where all these, even the relatively poor USDA requirements won't exist at all? Is there, will it make it worse? 'Cause I heard at least one person told me that California passed a law similar to what we're describing here, and the situation actually got worse as far as the conditions of the animals. That was what I was told. Obviously, I'm learning here, trying to, make a good decision, but I do want to know, how do you deal with it if there is that level of demand that they're selling 500 to 1,000 a month and they go out of business? That demand doesn't necessarily go away, does it?
Rebecca Goff, may I go direct? Okay, thank you. There has and there will always probably be a black market, unfortunately. I think a lot of people love dogs. We love animals in this country. And part of the problem is education. There genuinely are many people who do not know where their puppies come from at the pet stores. Some of that is just a lack of knowledge. Some of that is deceptive advertising, deceptive practices that, again, we saw in our undercover investigation, we've seen time and time again in these stores. The pet overpopulation problem, there are plenty of pets to meet the amount of people that want pets. I think there's a big education gap, and I think there's even more so a lack of resources for some people who would love to have a pet. So it's not always, I guess, equitable for everybody, for all those pets that are available. Forgive me, I lost my train of thought.
Been there, done that.
It's been a long day.
No,
Missed mine.
the black market concept,
Yes.
but also while you're describing this, it's like there's an educational component that's missing, but there's also kind of like a market thing that's missing. If I was to go and want to buy a dog or a cat at a pet store, and that pet store had a Humane World approved something, then I would feel much more comfortable, and then I would know that it wouldn't be from a puppy mill where they're treated horribly and kept in little cages and so forth. But is there any private sector humane group or anything that actually does anything like that?
So Chair, if I may, Warren Hardy, along in the category of great minds think alike, this is one of the concepts and ideas I came up with years ago. Why don't we just set it up to where we can ensure that puppy stores are purchasing these puppies from reputable breeders? Ms. Goff answered the first question, and that is there's not enough demand. So does that create a shortage of pets? Absolutely. Could it potentially create a gray market, a black market? Absolutely. There's a black market out there now. But this bill is not about that. When we do that, I'm going to be the first one here. Once we figure out a way to control the black market and control these other things, we'll be the first at the table to do that. This bill doesn't do that. Those are difficult issues. This bill deals with what's in front of us now, and I can promise you, if you really understand the conditions of these puppy mills, there's nothing on the black market that is worse. In fact, I would guess that it might even be better on the black market. I don't have any statistics or data on that, but it's not going to be worse than it is for these animals. That's in front of us. That we have control over. When we get to the point where there's a solution for the black market and these other things, we'll be the first one here. But this bill is about one thing and one thing only. And we've made market-driven arguments. We've talked about the consumer bait and switch and the ridiculous prices. But this bill is about one thing, and that is cruelty to the animals. I would submit that probably the animals that have it best here are the puppies, because the puppies, there's some incentive to have the puppies healthy and look good when they get to the retail spot. But what about the parents of these puppies? Living in a cage that's 6 inches longer than their body for their entire life? That's what's in front of us. That's all we can address with this bill. That is what we're endeavoring to bill. I hope in my career we can address those other issues, but right now, this is about cruelty to these animals in puppy mills in the Midwest and how we can impact it in Nevada.
Very good. Thanks, Madam Chair.
You guys got this bill all wrong. Anybody that has a pepper mill, they should be put in the cages. Leave them there for 6 months to a year, they won't do it again. But this is not about puppy mills, because I think that's a demand. But when I die, I'm gonna come back as a puppy at my house. Because I tell you what, they run the house, they got everything in the world they need. Every time they go to the store, if they don't bring back a toy, they pout. So, I mean, it's so bad, and they got baskets and baskets of toys and treats, and they get treated better than I do. But the thing of it is, there used to be 3 vet stores in Elko, or, stores that had sold dogs and cats. The people would bring in their dogs after they had the litter, and they'd bring them in, and they would take care of them, and they weren't in cages. They had little things they run around in, and they fed them in there and take them outside, and they lived like kings. But and then they had a thing for cats, but that's a whole different ballgame. We're talking puppy mills, or we're talking stores, because the stores there, they treated them animals, and they weren't there very long. And they're not like the ones sitting out in front of Walmart and say, give me $5 for this dog or whatever, or if you don't take them, they'll die, whatever. But that's not the point. The 3 stores that was in Elko, well, one was they used to do, trimming and stuff, and they took care of the animals really, really well. And then we had a building years ago that they rented from us, and they had a big store. They had birds in there, and every once in a while they'd have little dogs in there, or they have cats, But they took good care of them animals. You couldn't ask for any better care. But
Chair.
them should still be allowed to operate, because they work in such small deals. They don't go out and buy them by picking. People bring them in themselves. Like I said, our 2 little dogs, they rule the roost. So I'm hoping that these don't get taken out, because there was people that had them, and then they just took them in and they give them out, or they sold them. But they weren't looking for breeders, they were looking for friendship with their little animals. That's what they did.
Chair Warren Hardy, I think the senator makes a good point, and I wouldn't sit here in front of you to tell you that all pet store owners are bad. I'm certain there are some that source them from reasonable breeders on a small demand. This is a shotgun approach. I agree with you completely. The ideal thing would be for the federal government to outlaw these puppy mills in the Midwest. They haven't. In the short term, it doesn't look like they're going to. My mom told me a story when I was a little boy about, we were walking on the beach, and she told me a little boy, there were starfish everywhere. And the little boy was throwing the starfish back into the ocean. And the mom said, do you really think you can save all those starfish? You really think you can make a difference? And he threw the starfish, and he said, I made a difference for that one. That's what we're doing here. This is the very minor thing that Nevada can do to address a huge, probably national problem. Are there weaknesses in the argument? Are there challenges? Are there people that might get swept up? Of course. I don't know how else to do this. If you followed my career, if there was another way to do this, that's what I'd be here advocating for today. So I understand your point, Senator. I think it's a good one. I'm certain there are good pet store owners out there that have nothing but the best interest. But on a global scale, we know that this is an industry that is problematic, and so that's why we brought the bill.
Well, I think that there's got to be a way to make it, meet in the middle, because not every place is bad. It's not. And puppy mills, I've seen them in cages and stuff. It's disgusting. But these 2 little dogs we got, they go to the barber shop or beauty shop every month. I get a haircut every 3 months. So what does that tell you? Not by the same barber either. But kind of way that we can get to the middle where some of these places that really have them and really want them to have better homes. Like I said, I've got 2 registered little dogs and they control the roost. Thank you.
Chair Warren Hardy again. I don't disagree with you, but I will say you, after 12 years of trying, there's no middle ground on this. This is our option. This is what we have to do if we're going to do something. But I understand your point.
Okay. Yes, that's why I'm wearing my lobster shirt today, dress, because in Switzerland, you can't put a live lobster into boiling water. So I thought this was kind of appropriate, thinking about where we are in protecting our small businesses and our pets. And I appreciate the bill presentation. Now we're going to be able to hear from our general public. And if you can, would you like to share anything?
I would just like to, Nathan Anderson for the record, I would just again like to thank you for the presentation, for allowing us the opportunity to present this. And again, how important it is to treat our elected officials as well as those that work with us, whether it is staff or lobbyists, with dignity and respect. And that it's okay to disagree with each other, but it's not okay to make comments that are of personal nature. So I know that's very different to end a presentation that way. But based upon some things that just heard in just the last probably half hour, I think it's really important for us to remember that we need to stick to the topic itself. So thank you again for allowing us this opportunity to present this information.
Thank you. And with that, and with those ROEs here, we're going to open testimony in support of AB 487. If you are in Las Vegas, you can come forward. It looks like we have a couple people in person presenting here in Carson. Once they're done, you can unmute your microphone in Las Vegas and we'll go over to you, okay? So we're gonna start here with support testimony for AB 487 in Carson City. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Mike Cathcart, representing the city of Henderson. I first want to thank the sponsors for bringing this legislation. This bill will assist in the goal of reducing the number of abandoned animals that end up in our animal shelter at the city of Henderson. The city has passed an ordinance that would put a moratorium on new locations that can sell dogs and cats, and the city is supportive of AB 487 and urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Kelly Crompton, representing the city of Las Vegas. We echo many of the concerns or the words that the city of Henderson brought up, as we also have an animal shelter that is overrun with abandoned pets. Thank you.
Okay, we will start taking testimony and support in Las Vegas. You have 2 minutes for each public testimony. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Hillary Gray. I'm CEO of the Animal Foundation, Nevada's largest open admission animal shelter. Today, there are more than 1,000 animals on our campus, including 547 dogs. We're in a critical capacity crisis and are making urgent pleas to the public to adopt and to foster. We're offering support to those considering surrendering beloved pets to keep those pets in homes. The need is so great that we're even offering financial incentives to our rescue partners. Hundreds of wonderful dogs and puppies in our care need loving forever homes. Every breed, size, and age you can imagine. Today, right now, we have terriers, Labradors, French and English bulldogs, Aussies, poodles, Cocker Spaniels, even a Papillon, and of course, all the beautiful mixes who are loving pets, playful, sweet, eager to please. All they need is a chance. And that's just us. Across Nevada, shelters and rescues are full. There are breed-specific rescues, and there are ethical, licensed breeders. There are so many ways for Nevadans to find their ideal pet, and so many pets in need, that there is no need for businesses that prop up the well-documented cruelty of puppy mills. We see residents who paid thousands to a puppy mill store, then thousands more in medical bills due to irresponsible breeding and inadequate care. Many just give up and surrender their beloved pet. It is heartbreaking. There's no need to continue supporting the puppy mill pipeline, but there is great need for ethical business to partner with shelters and rescues to promote adoption while selling pet supplies or services. Sign us up. We will gladly bring puppies and kittens. Customers will feel great about adopting and likely spend even more on all the things for their new family member. That's a win for everyone. Businesses can change and thrive. With this bill, you can make Nevada a leader in humane business while prioritizing adoption and life-saving as well. The importance of this statewide bill cannot be overstated. Without it, bad actors will just move on to the next jurisdiction, and that cycle of cruelty and heartbreak continues. Please pass AB 487.
Hi, my name is Danny Roth. I'm the founder of Retriever Rescue of Las Vegas. I'm one of the rescuers who puts up with all the pet shop dogs after they're abandoned or given up for numerous reasons. We have rescued thousands of dogs from puppy mills, thousands. We know firsthand. I want to first apologize. I'm not attacking anybody. I'm going to read what I put together, but there is no individual attacks going on. Okay. I need you all to think about it. How do retail stores actually make their money and make so much off of each dog? Because they are trafficking dogs. Let me squash the ridiculous comment that was made about Petland. Petland is putting this out there. The USDA issues licenses to the puppy mills. Sure they do. Sight unseen. Do you own or have you done your own research? Like actually looked at these puppy mills and researched where these pet shops are getting their pets? Because we have. Have the pet stores walked on these puppy mills? Have you seen all these pictures? I've seen it in person. It's absolutely horrifying. Forced pregnancy, forced to breed over and over and over again, only to become homeless. Okay, these are trafficking conditions. Trafficking dogs is absolutely unacceptable. How can it be legal to be putting your name behind anything and have a nay vote on a bill that will cost innocent soul lives? What do you think happens to mom and dad? Reputable breeders would never sell or even think about selling to a retail store. They wouldn't have pallets of puppies shipped to storefronts. Support loving breeders. Do that. Support rescues. We put our blood, sweat, and tears into every single one of these angels. Illegal breeders are just
Thank
that,
you for
illegal.
your testimony. If you can finish your comment, you have exceeded the 2 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I love Las Vegas. This is getting out of hand with our animal cruelty. Think about the innocent souls and what they go through in the metal cages. The parents are terrified. They're covered in inhumane conditions. Just real quick, or my husband can finish my sentence for me. It doesn't take much to say to end retail dog trafficking. Trust me, there is so much money to be had in pet supplies, pet products. There's no reason to traffic a dog from a puppy mill. We're humans, not barbarians.
Thank you.
Putting somebody
If
out
you
of
have
this-
any
okay.
additional comments, you can always drop them off to the committee secretary and we'll.
Yeah,
make
my
sure they're
husband can
filed.
finish. There's 2 lines left.
Okay, thank you. And
Thank
then,
you.
is there anyone else? Yes, thank you.
Yes, hello, my name is Lindsay Amar, and I am a local small business owner that sells pet-related products. I'm here today to ask you to please support AB 487. This is not an anti-breeder bill, as many people think. It only impacts unethical breeders. There are ethical breeders in Nevada who follow code of ethics, and under that code, they will not sell their puppies to puppy stores. With the current animal crisis in our state, it does not make sense to ship in thousands of dogs from unethical breeders who are out of state. Each year, millions of puppies are born in puppy mills across the United States, with approximately 1.3 million entering the pet trade. A significant number of these puppies are transported to states like Nevada, where they are sold in pet stores. These facilities often operate under conditions that prioritize profit over the health and safety of the animals. Puppies from these environments are 41% more likely to develop health issues compared to the general dog population, as well as behavioral issues due to the lack of proper socialization and early trauma. The tragic case of Cindy Lou underscores the urgency of this issue. Investigations have revealed that many Nevada pet stores obtain puppies from known puppy mills in other states. Numerous lawsuits have been filed by consumers who unknowingly purchased sick puppies. These buyers were unaware of the underlying health issues until after the purchase, leading to significant emotional and financial distress. Most people would not knowingly purchase a pet from a pet store if they truly knew where they had come from. This bill represents a commitment to ending the cycle of cruelty and exploitation. By supporting this legislation, we send a clear message that Nevada will not tolerate the sale of animals subjected to inhumane breeding practices. I urge you to consider the lives of these animals and the integrity of our community. Please do the right thing and take a stand against puppy mills and ensure the puppies sold in our state are healthy, well cared for, and bred responsibly. Thank you.
Thank you. That was exactly 2 minutes.
I'll try to match that. Hi, Bryce Henderson, president of No Kill Las Vegas. We represent thousands of animal advocates here in Clark County. What is a puppy mill? Most puppy stores claim that their puppies come from USDA licensed breeders. This is some sort of gold standard that validates them that they don't source from puppy mills. What you need to understand is that this USDA stamp does shield them from the puppy mill label. It actually identifies them as puppy mills. Because only breeders that have more than 4 breeding females and sell their pups to middlemen are required to have a USDA license. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know anyone with 4 breeding female dogs. And if I did, I certainly would consider them a puppy mill. And no reputable breeder is going to give their 8-week-old puppies to a stranger and have them shipped across the country to homes unknown. So let's be clear, there might be different levels of greed, callousness, and mistreatment when it comes to USDA certified breeders, but make no mistake, they are all puppy mills. For those wondering if this law will reduce the amount of puppy mills, in 2017, when California brought up and then eventually passed the ban on puppy stores, there were 3,690 puppy mills licensed by the USDA. In 2022, there were only 2,000. That's a 46% decline in just 5 years. So yes, these bans are having a tremendous impact. Now, as president of No Kill Las Vegas, I've spent the last 12 years encouraging people to adopt from shelters, but I want to speak to some consumers' concerns and one of the senators' concerns that they won't be able to find the breed of dog they want without the puppy mill stores. This bill does not prohibit the breeding of dogs by locally licensed, reputable breeders. There is not a county or municipality in the state that does not allow breeding, and this bill will not change that. What this bill will do is protect your constituents so that they know when they purchase a puppy from a locally licensed breeder, that breeder is overseen by the local government and must meet standards that are much more strict than that of the USDA's. And they will be able to meet one or both of the parents. And they will also hopefully be able to meet the owner of the dogs. As a state senator here in Nevada, you can't control what a breeder is doing in Iowa or Indiana. And you certainly aren't collecting any tax revenue from their out-of-state business. So if you want to protect your constituents, if you want to keep all of the money locally, and if you want to protect the puppies from the unethical puppy mill pipeline, then please vote yes on this bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, it looks like we have the husband to share the last 2 sentences of testimony. So you don't end up in the doghouse? Go ahead.
Green button, got it. John LaPola, Retriever Rescue Las Vegas. To finish what my wife was saying was, it doesn't take much to say end retail trafficking of dogs. Trust me, there's so much money to be made in the retail business with pet supplies and pet products. There's no reason to traffic a dog from a puppy mill or to support that kind of cruelty. Are we humans or barbarians? Putting somebody out of business that supports animal cruelty, is that really putting somebody out of business? Careful what you put your name behind, because the next innocent soul to die like Cindy Lou will be in the headlines. We promise to make that happen. We promise to be their voice. End puppy trafficking now. Puppy mills, AKA retail pet sales. We love you, Cindy Lou. In your name, we will end this. Please vote yes to AB 487. Thank you.
Okay, it does not look like we have any more testimony in support in Las Vegas. We're going to move to the phone lines. We do have several callers on the phone lines, so I want to remind everyone that is calling in, do not exceed 2 minutes. We will turn off at 2 minutes, so please set your timer in front of you so you could adhere to that so we can be respectful of everybody's time. And AVH will begin taking callers in support for Assembly Bill 487. Thank you.
If you would like to testify in support for AB 487, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
And just a reminder, you don't have to take the whole 2 minutes. If you want to say a ditto, or if things have already been said before, there's a lot of repeated ideas, you can definitely shorten that up. We appreciate it and also appreciate you taking the time for public testimony. We can begin.
Chairwoman Cruz Crawford and members of the Senate Natural Resources Committee. For the record, my name is Donna West, D-O-N-N-A-W-E-S-T. I'm a constituent of Senate District 21 in Clark County, and I am here today in support of AB 487 to eliminate the sale of puppies at pet stores. I am and have been the responsible pet parent of rescued kittens, cats, puppies, dogs, and even desert tortoises. I do not purchase pets. Why? Because of the way the animals who produce those kittens and puppies are treated. Several years ago, Havington Waite Rescue asked if I would foster a pregnant miniature schnauzer. When I arrived to meet this dog, it had been determined she was not pregnant, but had recently miscarried a litter. She had been thrown from a moving car and then brought to the rescue. She was about 8 years old and had never been groomed. The only way you would know that she was a miniature schnauzer was because of her salt and pepper coat, a coat full of dreadlocks, sticks, and dirt. The rescue had her groomed to reveal a very underfed dog. With the rescue, I had her spayed. Her vet said that she'd been bred far too long, far too often, and in his decades of neutering pets, he'd never seen a female whose reproductive organs were in such bad shape. She nearly died during surgery, and it was touch and go for days. But she pulled through, and we were able to give Violet nearly 3 happy, healthy years as a beloved family pet. How does Violet's story relate to AB 487? She was used in a breeding operation, a puppy mill. She didn't get her basic humane care. She didn't have a proper diet or necessary grooming. She was bred over and over, well beyond her age and health. Why? To produce puppies for sale. We need to cut off the supply of puppies. We need to stop selling puppies in commercial pet stores. There are so many pets in our shelters that need a good home. Let's get them adopted like I did for Violet. Please vote yes on AB 487. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. For the record, my name is Nick Marquardt, Nickmarquart, and I'm speaking in support of AB 487. One of our dogs was found with duct tape wrapped around his muzzle, puncture wounds all over his body, and his left eye hanging out of his head. Another was bred at 6 months old and left to die until we rescued her just in time, and then she ended up dying at 3 years old due to the amount of damage already done to her little body. Another was abused, tormented, and returned to the shelter multiple times until we finally adopted him. These are the experiences of only our 3 dogs, but thousands of other animals will experience the same thing simply because pet stores are allowed to operate. Puppy mills and mass breeders use and treat animals like any other commodity. They're bred to sold and turn a profit without concern for their well-being, living in inhumane conditions, riddled with disease and abuse. These animals exist for nothing more than human greed. So by passing AB 487, Large-scale, unethical breeders and puppy mills will be unable to profit off the diseased and scarred animals they mass produce, and the pet store pipeline of animals used only for financial exploitation will be turned off as well. We, your constituents, trust this body to make decisions in the best interest of those that cannot speak for themselves. This includes the animals that will continue to suffer if this bill is not passed. I'm asking you to please support AB 487. Thank you for your time.
Hi, this is Michael Naft for the record. I represent District A on the Clark County Commission. I sponsored and brought forward the successful Humane Pet Store Ordinance in Clark County that passed over a year and a half ago. That ordinance is very similar to the potential bill that is in front of you today, and I'm here to speak on the success of that ordinance from the local level. We joined with the city of North Las Vegas and now the city of Henderson, which has a moratorium on this type of business. And I brought that forward for a couple reasons. One, I was absolutely convinced, as has been demonstrated today, that there is no humane way to sell pets from a pet store window. No matter how great the conditions of the dog might look in the pet shop window, we know that puppy, that animal came from one place, and it was almost guaranteed from a puppy mill. The second is shelter diversion. In Clark County, we spend well more than $10 million annually on shelters. We support through other animal welfare causes and organizations dollars. We also support the work of animal protection services, code enforcement, and others to the tune of millions of dollars a year. All with the goal of shelter diversion. We know that pets that come from pet stores end up disproportionately higher in shelters and at our rescues, and we need to put an end to that. And lastly, it's because of consumer protection. It is unfair that a licensed business in Clark County or any jurisdiction in the state should be open and give the appearance that they are licensed and a credible business operating and have the authority to do so, because that's just simply not the case. We have animals where we know where they come from, and they should make sure that the consumers who are taking advantage or utilizing that store know what they're getting into, and far too many do not. When I passed the ordinance in Clark County, we offered a grant program to assist with these businesses transition into whether it's retail sales of pet supplies, grooming, or others. It was not utilized, not once, so we advertised it, and I personally called through the list of businesses. But it was an offer that we made, and I think something that helped with the transition. And it was one reason why our ordinance was supported by organizations like the Chamber of Commerce. I think this is a really important legislation to pass statewide, because we know that as other states across the country have passed similar laws and ordinances and jurisdictions, the problem has gotten worse here in the state of Nevada, and we surely don't want to continue to license businesses that are operating outside of the values that we all share. I thank you very much for your time and your consideration.
Caller with the last three digits ending in 663. You are unmuted and you may begin. Caller with the last three digits ending in 663. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Chair, it looks like we are having some issues with caller ending in 663. Would you like to move forward?
Yes, thank you.
This is Chris June Kellyani. Can you hear me?
Yes, Chris, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm wishing to speak on behalf of Assembly Bill 487. I'm an English Bulldog rescue mom. She is my 7th one. And as I got her through a rescue, I found out that she actually had come from Alamo, Nevada through a puppy mill. I am here to say that there is no longer any other way to stop the puppy mills being the feeding line for these retail markets. You do not need to sell an animal in a store in order to be able to provide people with a loving companion. There are plenty of surrendered and lost pets that are out there that can be adopted, and every breed is available as far as that's concerned. Plus, we also have properly licensed breeders for almost every single breed that anybody wants to have. Animals are not commodities. This bill will close the loophole that allows for the feeding of retail markets with trafficked pets. We in Henderson, they had one. They found a puppy mill last year. We had one in Lawrence Weekly's commission district at one time. They exist not just in the Midwest. They're here still in our home state. I believe that this is the best resolve for finally making sure that we are acting humanely with these animals. Just to end, I would suggest that in Section 8, on the definition of retail, that you insert the term "or" on its website after the term "premises," because that would leave a loophole. They could still advertise in some way, shape, or form on their website that they're selling pets if you just restrict it to not being able to be sold on the premises. So I would suggest that to the makers to take a look at that language. I appreciate everybody's testimony. This needs to be done. We've been working on this for years, and I commend Commissioner Knapp for finally getting what I tried to do 8-9 years ago off the ground, and it's worked out. So thank you very much for your attention.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. This is Rachel Berggren. I'm the Executive Director for Heaven Can Wait Animal Society located in Las Vegas. I am just calling in today along with all of our local and statewide animal welfare advocates to in support of this bill. And I think all of the comments that I would have made that are germane to the conversation have already been made. So I will yield to the next person on the line. Thank you.
Hello, this is Casey Kern. Can you hear me?
Yes, Casey, go ahead.
Okay, great. So my name is Casey Kern. I live in Clark County, zip code 89052. I commend Commissioner Knapp for passing a bill here. I've rescued 2 beautiful, loving dogs from Second Chance Rescue, and I'm a former shelter volunteer and foster volunteer. I'm calling to urge you to support Cindy Lou's law because there is no justification for allowing the sale of commercially bred animals while healthy, adoptable cats and dogs are being euthanized simply because there aren't enough loving, responsible homes, and they cannot be warehoused indefinitely. This is a common sense, life-saving measure, and I respectfully ask for your support. Thank you so much.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hi, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, yes. My name is Lindsay Keller. For the record, LINDSEYKELLER. And I just would like to say I have lived here in Las Vegas for over 20 years now.
which is more than half of my life. And being an all-around animal lover and pet owner, I try to keep up to date with our city's animal awareness, and I'm deeply concerned about the critical state of our overpopulation of cats and dogs in our shelters, and the amount of abandoned pets in our community, many of whom are now roaming the streets, being causing traffic accidents. It's very bad. There is an alarming increased rate of euthanasia due to the fact of lack of room in many of our shelters, and it is just sickening to see that they're having to put down healthy pets, puppies and kittens, some of whom have been purchased from those said pet stores, and only to be given days before they have to be euthanized. All of the roughly 38 rescues are beyond capacity and trying so hard to keep afloat. I think so. Overpopulation is one of our key problems. I'm hoping that this would help with the changing one of our biggest problems. And I know you've already heard it before, but we just really need to do something for them. I learned a lot from listening to this meeting, and I just want to give my support for AB 487. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Jill Dobbs, Jill, D as in dog, O, B as in boy, B as in boy, S as in Sam. I am the executive director of the SPCA of Northern Nevada. We are located in Washoe County in Reno. And I am calling asking for you to support the pet store ban in AB 487. I concur with all of the previous testimony that you've heard, and I want to target just a few points here today. Today's pet stores are supplied by puppy mills and large-scale breeders. That is a reality, and that is a fact. Gone are the prior days. Regulations aren't enforced. Part of the issue is pets are defined as property under Nevada state law, and that complicates things. Additionally, we're in a time when we are cutting government personnel at all levels and agencies and oversight. So it is not reasonable to expect there to just be regulations that can be enforced on these businesses. Unfortunately, a total ban is required. There's a fear that if this bill is passed, that Nevada will be viewed as anti-business, but this fear is unfounded and unsupported by facts. City of Reno banned pet stores years ago, over 5 years ago, and maintained an almost universal reputation as being pro-business and pro-development. Nevada's entire corporate code and infrastructure is strongly pro-business. Simply passing AB 487 is insufficient to make a dent in that reputation, let alone create an anti-business reputation. Nevada will be viewed as pro-humane and can help set a more humane pathway for the entire nation to follow. Nevada residents do not operate these pet stores. Out-of-state owners do, which means these pet stores are allowed to harm pets and Nevadans while their profits leave our state and go to California, Utah, Idaho, the Midwest. The list goes on. They are harming Nevada consumers, Nevada taxpayers, and Nevada businesses.
Excuse me, ma'am. You have exceeded the 2 minutes of
Thank you.
testimony. Appreciate it. Thank you. Next caller on the line.
Hello, this is Christy Stevens, CHRISTY-STEVENS. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today in strong support of AB 487. I am the Executive Director of Hearts Alive Village, an animal welfare organization that provides veterinary forensics investigations in cases of suspected animal cruelty. Doing so, we have seen firsthand the devastating consequences of the current system of puppy store sales. Our organization's veterinary forensics divisions investigated 2 cruelty cases last year where retail puppy stores were involved. In one case, a woman who had been repeatedly sold Yorkie puppies by a pet store was later found to be hoarding animals in appalling conditions. Despite the stores knowing that the puppies were dying in her care, they continued to sell her puppy after puppy. 17 dead Yorkies were later discovered in her freezers. This is not an isolated incident. It is evidence of a system where profit is prioritized over animal welfare. In another heartbreaking case, 10-week-old pup Cindy Lou, did not receive the urgent care she needed. Employees with no veterinary credentials are told to follow internal protocols designed to save money by delaying costly outside veterinary care. Precious time is wasted while these employees attempt to treat serious illnesses in-house. Cindy Lou needed immediate medical attention, but she was not prioritized. When we performed a necropsy on her tiny body, it was devastating to realize that if she had received proper care in time, she'd be alive today. Her story is not unique. Another tragic example where the welfare of sentient beings takes a backseat to profit. These are not isolated incidents. They are a part of a systemic problem. Retail pet store prioritizes sales over the welfare of sentient beings. They allow suffering to continue behind glass windows and marketing. I hope you can see that the puppy mills that feed these stores are just the beginning of the suffering. And we as a society allow the suffering to continue as long as we allow the sale of these animals to persist. Nevada has to be better than this. I support this bill because we need to stop treating dogs and cats as products for profit without consideration for the outcome of their lives and the needs of their health and well-being. Thank you very much.
Caller with the last three digits of 400, please press *6 to unmute. Again, caller with the last three digits of 400, please press *6 to unmute. Thank you. Please continue.
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, wonderful. Okay, I guess I'm going to be the lone person thus far that's in opposition to the bill. Believe me, I agree with everything that's said about mills and cruelty to animals and other things. The issue I have is lumping in the good people.
Oh, we are actually taking testimony and support right now. Can you just hold until?
Okay, you guys just said the last 400. Okay, I'll come back.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, we're taking support testimony right now. And so please hang on the line and we'll let one to call in for opposition. Thank you.
Caller with the last three digits of 988, please press *6 to unmute. Again, caller with the last three digits of 988, please press *6 to unmute. Chair, this caller is having difficulty. We'll switch to the next caller.
You have to say support. Hello?
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 Hi.
I am waiting because I am not in support of.
Oh,
487,
we're
so
actually
I will stay on the line and wait till you get to it.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Anyone, right now we're taking support testimony. We will be taking opposition. AVH, is there anyone else on the line for support testimony?
If you would like to testify in support of AB 487, please press *9 now.
Hello, my name is Darian Masters. I am
in support of this bill passing. A lot of the testimony that was given, I am in full support of, and I stand behind. I have experienced trauma within family of purchasing a puppy from a pet store and dealing with that suffering. So I am in full support of passing this bill.
Hi, my name is Jeff Dixon. For the record, Madam Chair and members of the committee, thank you for hearing this bill. I am in support of it. I worked on this for many years with the Humane World for Animals organization and with local officials like Commissioner Knapp and former Commissioner June Kiliani. This bill, we're careful about speaking in absolutes, but there is no way to remove puppy mill bred dogs from the market in Nevada without just banning it outright at retail stores. It does have an impact. Yes, there are ways to convert over to humane business models, but if you oppose puppy mill bred dogs in Nevada, you have to pass this bill. So I urge you to support your local animal welfare organizations who have spoken here, the local governments who fund them with our public money, supporting consumers who get ripped off, and support the animals who are in the shelters, who are homeless, and who are in need of options to get out. So yes, that's what I have to say about the bill, and thanks for your time.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You may begin.
Okay. Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Gina Greisen, Gina, Greis, like Sam, E-N like Nancy. I am president of Nevada Voters for Animals. I am testifying in support of AB 487. I'm a native Nevadan, and I've been an animal advocate for 20 years. I have investigated numerous heartbreaking cases of sick animals and cruelty issues related to pet stores. You've heard a lot of other testimony, but I specifically would like to discuss the Petland in Boca Park. I was the advocate that was involved in following and making sure that the hoarders, Carolyn Luke and Timothy Miller, were arrested in Boulder City and also faced 16 felonies. I've sent you a letter, a very long letter. We requested an investigation into the Boca Park Petland. In that letter, there is a Dropbox link that shows 88 pages of receipts of purchases from that store. They knowingly sold over and over and over again, despite being approached by employees and begging them to stop selling, because they would come in the store smelling of urine, having what appeared to be feces caked on their feet and pants. And yet the manager said, someone's going to sell them puppies, it may as well be us, and told them to keep selling them animals. We saw how that turned out. You heard the testimony of Chrissy Stevens, how many animals they had to perform necropsies on. That was an investigation that spanned 3 different jurisdictions that night. They were hiding those animals in a motel room. I mean, it was horrific. But also, and this goes to the business practices and the types of people that run pet stores. So, we hope that you can see that these are not nice people. And I'd also like to talk about Gloria Lee, the lady who tried to burn her pet store down many years ago with 25 puppies inside and 2 of her own dogs. Again, it's all detailed in the letter that I've sent. I appreciate the opportunity to testify in support today, and please read the letter that I sent. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Brittany Bennessy on behalf of the ASPCA. Puppy mills rely on pet shops and online sellers to present a clean, wholesome image so consumers won't think about the conditions required to produce a readily available supply of various adorable puppies for the highest profit margin. In fact, those that would be regulated by AB 487 may suggest that supporters are cutting out well-regulated sellers and highly regulated breeders they sell for. Unfortunately, as has been said today, I'd like to provide some numbers to this that illustrates that these claims paint a picture far from reality. Last year, the USDA licensed hundreds of commercial dog dealers who had recorded histories of failing to provide care. Nearly half of the licensed dog dealers never even had a compliance inspection, and of those that did, 20% had failures reported. Reports detailed instances of dogs who could not walk, who were living in waste with painful wounds, and dogs suffering from contagious and deadly diseases. Overall, the reports detailed over 800 violations by licensed dog dealers, yet only 2 lost their USDA license. And notably, not a single dog was removed from these facilities. Instead, the puppies end up at retail stores and online, finding their way into families' hearts and homes with little knowledge of the potential health issues, behavioral risks, and related costs they've taken in. AB 487 takes the necessary step towards addressing this importation of cruelty by prohibiting the sale of dogs and cats. What this bill does not do is impact Nevadans' ability to obtain pets from breeders, shelters, or rescues. It also does not undermine retail businesses' ability to participate in the $300 billion and growing pet supply market. Lastly, I want to be clear, there is absolutely no evidence that California's import of puppy mill puppies has increased since their retail ban passed. Thank you for your time, and to the sponsors for this bill, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Hello, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Maria Teresa Lieberman Barraga, and I'm here in strong support of AB 487 for much of what was said. But I also want to add that some may look at this and think there are probably bigger or more human problems to address. And initially I get that, but suffering and compassion should not exist in silos, and they don't. This bill shuts down this system of profit built on pain that we've been hearing about. And I want to add my story. Chulo, my dog, that is sitting next to me and listening in and is also in support, was found wandering the street, sick and scared and traumatized when he was just a year old. When we visited him at the Animal Foundation, we thought he was mute or deaf because he wasn't reactionary. The staff told us he was in a very bad shape and traumatized from they don't know what. Then we took care of him and he ended up changing our lives, bringing life into our home. He has helped us with our own suffering that comes with being adults in this world, has taught us about patience and resilience when he's not taking over spots on the couch. Animals help us, and we should help them in return. This is a small act, but still great impact of hope and decency in the face of what probably are other difficult decisions that you all have to undertake this session. And so I urge you to pass AB 487. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Lori Heron. I'm the Executive Director of Nevada SPCA, and we are Southern Nevada's original no-kill animal shelter for over 40 years. In addition to the horrible cruelty that you've heard about that occurs to animals sourced to the pet stores from puppy mills, Nevada SPCA has seen firsthand the number of puppies that are surrendered to our shelter after their purchase from a puppy store, where we believe they were not counseled appropriately on the responsibility and expense for care for a puppy, because at pet stores, they are primarily an initial financial transaction. We have had puppies turned in with their pet store receipt. Bernie Doodle after Christmas with a $4,500 receipt. A Labradoodle with a $3,500 receipt because it was just too high strung. And a Husky that was turned in at only a year old because they didn't think he would get that big. While there are so many reasons why we love Nevada and Las Vegas, we are not a shining example of what a state should do for its animals yet, but we can get there with your support today. Please vote yes for AB 487. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Chair, you have no more callers in support at this time.
Thank you. We will now take opposition testimony here in Carson City. Opposition testimony here, if you can come forward. And begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. My name is Alyssa Miller, ALYSSA-MILLER. I am here on behalf of the Pet Advocacy Network. We are a trade association and the association that represents the responsible pet care community with members across Nevada. I just want to kind of start off here by saying that many of our members are store owners and they would love to be able to be here, but because they were notified of the hearing on Friday, unfortunately, they are business owners and they can't take the time to come up here to Carson City. So some of them who are able will be calling in and providing testimony and also providing their written testimony to talk about how this bill would impact them. A few things I did want to address. The first off being the assertion that this bill would not harm businesses here in Nevada. I think that the examples of Petco and PetSmart are a bit misleading. These stores are giant big box retailers and retailers that the small businesses are often competing against. Our small businesses here in Nevada would be forced to close if this bill went into effect. In New York and in California, 93 to 95% of all of the pet stores that were affected and impacted by a pet sale ban closed. The idea that someone can just shift a business model is misleading and is also unrealistic. It costs tens of thousands of dollars to be able to shift your business model, to be able to redo your advertising and be able to retrofit your store to make sure that you can adequately house the new products. Additionally, that's if you can compete against places like Amazon, Chewy, Petco, PetSmart, and the other retailers. I'd also like to, Senator Hansen, you mentioned whether or not there is a kind of professional standard. There is, in fact. Purdue's Canine Cares program is a state-of-the-art program that has been really working at overhauling how breeding is done. And these breeders work with pet stores across the country. They use science and fact-based models to ensure that there is happy and healthy animals. I would encourage you to take a look at that program, and I'm also happy to provide any information on it, including pictures and videos. And a lot of those breeders are who our pet stores work for and work with. I also want to talk about the black market here in California, and that could potentially happen here in Nevada. The idea that an animal would be better off coming from the black market, as was asserted by some other folks today, is simply ridiculous. The black market are the pet stores, are the breeders that our pet stores cannot and do not work with. We have seen an increase in animals coming from bad breeders across state lines into California. There are multiple LA Times exposés showing such, and as a result, California is actually having to take more action to fix a problem that was created by the pet sale ban. This bill not only doesn't help animals, it potentially hurts animals. Rather than moving straight to a ban, I would advocate that Nevada, for the first time in 12 years, looks at overhauling regulation. I did a quick search, and in the last 12 years, there haven't really been adequate attempts at overhauling regulation that would govern our pet stores, our breeding, and animal welfare in general. Nevada has the opportunity to become the gold standard across the country by enacting comprehensive regulation similar to what the majority of the country does. We encourage you to vote no on this bill, as has majority of the states in this country.
And we have opposition testimony in Las Vegas. You may begin.
Hi there, my name is Vanessa Green, VANESSA I'm the manager of Petland Henderson, and I've been at that location for over 3.5 years. I ultimately believe that we are on the same side here, and we can all agree that the care and well-being of animals does come first. This is why we support ethical breeders and uphold the utmost care when it comes to our puppies. We are supportive of regulations and upping any store standards, and we are regularly inspected by Henderson Animal Control, and we work under an amazing vet who is in store weekly. We only purchase from USDA certified breeders as well as breeders that are Canine Care certified. Today we have 50% CCC puppies, and we're working towards 100%. Since 2023, we have committed to personally touring the facilities that we work with and creating videos of these facilities. We made it so that every breeder's name and a QR code with their video, as well as their prices of our puppies, are on every single window. We also provide the USDA and CCC certification for every single customer. Less than 3% of new puppies each year come from pet stores, and closing down stores does not stop the demand for puppies, nor will it shut down the puppy mills. Majority of people are going on to online sources like Puppy Spot or who knows where to get a puppy, and this leaves people incredibly vulnerable to scams. I hear about it every single day, people losing thousands of dollars or buying sick animals. We offer protection for customers with our warranties and insurance, and we have a very low claim rate for hereditary congenital defects. And the online market is huge, and people love the convenience of purchasing online and having the puppy delivered. That is what's supplying these awful breeders and not us. Where are their regulations? The data shows that the banning of the stores has not improved adoptions and has also not stopped the inhumane breeding facilities. Closing down local family-owned businesses just pushes Nevada's dollars outside the states and takes away jobs. Customers deserve the opportunity to make the choices themselves about where the puppy is from. We do not work for everyone, and that's okay. There are many times we have recommended adopting to customers because it makes more sense for them. I myself have a rescue pit bull named Rocket Man, who is amazing. I also have a cat, Freddie Meowkery, who comes from my store. My store owner allowed me to take him home when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I'll be forever grateful. I had health insurance thanks to her, time off for my treatment, and so much more. There has never been a time where I've brought up a concern for a pet in our store. My boss has not dropped everything to come in and help. To touch on financing, we offer up to 12 months interest-free options for our customers, APR from 5.9 to 35.9. And we also understand that we don't want puppies to end up in shelters either. So every single one of our puppy does go home with lifetime training assistance. Number one reason that puppies end up in shelters is because of behavior issues, and my pet counselors are coached to coach our customers. Let's talk about matching the right pet with the right customer, meeting the needs of those puppies as well. So we're doing our best. We definitely support regulations, and I'm also happy to answer any questions that were targeted towards Petland Henderson. Thank you so much.
AVH, do we have anyone on the line that would like to provide opposition testimony?
If you would like to testify in opposition for AB 487, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hello?
Hello, you may begin.
Hi, my name is Pauline, and I am a pet store owner in Henderson. And I'm just really sickened by the facts that are not being proven, nor the other side of it being shown. CC breeders that we are run by are, I'm right now I'm trying to get the words because I'm so upset, but the CC, we run by CC breeders, which in a nutshell, the puppy is only bred 2 times in a lifetime and then given to a future home. How come none of these points have been brought up? We are regulated by the government. How is banning pet stores that are actually regulated by laws better to ban them than go to the black market? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And by the way, we are a family business, and there are family businesses out there that are owned. So that is also not a fact that was given that says that we all lie about being family owned. We are actually a family owned business in the city of Henderson. Closing down puppy stores, the few that are not going to stop the shelters from being overfilled. It's the backyard breeders and the mill breeders that you're going to have to shut down to do that. And the few stores that are supposedly keeping them in business is not true. Going to the black market to get a puppy is far more dangerous for the puppies themselves. They're not regulated by vets, government, no one. So if we're going to talk facts, let's at least prove the facts. Let's not only talk about the bad stuff that's going on. Let's have facts on hand. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Kunselman. I am Vice President of Petland, and I respectfully oppose AB 487. I want to address just a few of the many falsehoods that have been shared tonight. To broadly claim that all commercial breeders, our puppy mills, is reckless and irresponsible. Yes, there are bad breeders, and we want to see those shut down just as much as everybody else does. But there are also very good, humane, and responsible breeders. We support Purdue University's Canine Care Certified breeding program. Breeders that are certified through this program retire their dogs after 6 litters or at 6 years of age. They have mandatory rehoming programs and genetic testing. We have fully supported this program and encouraged breeders to become certified, and we've committed to sourcing only from those breeders. Most of our breeders are inspected by at least 2 entities, many more than that, not just USDA. There are state-level regulations in place in many states that are very comprehensive, and there's Canine Care Certified. Petland supports and sponsors annual breeder education programs with the AKC, State Departments of Ag, and veterinarians to encourage and support high standards. Activists often point to the number of local bans to suggest a national trend, but let's look at the facts. Approximately 500 bans have passed since 2006. That's 19 years ago. That's only 2.5% of US municipalities. Over 50% of those were in just 3 states, California, New Jersey, and Florida. More than 65% were passed over 5 years ago. But most important, as many as 75% of those local bans were passed in communities that had no pet store to begin with, so they had no opposition. These are symbolic actions, not regulatory solutions. This is an emotional issue. We all agree on that, but I respectfully ask you to consider the facts. HSUS said in 2012 there were 10,000 puppy mills. And what's on their website today? Claims that there are 10,000 puppy mills. No change in 13 years. This is not the solution. Shutting down regulated pet stores removes the most transparent part of the market. We support strong standards and licensing, not bans. Let's protect animals and consumers through oversight, not elimination. Thank you, and I urge you to vote no.
Hello?
You may begin.
Hello? Hi, my name is Mateo. I've been a Henderson resident all of my life, and that's a bit over 20 some years. And I'm calling in hopes that, honestly, hopefully I can protect an amazing opportunity that I've had all my life. I've lived here with a dog every single day of my life, and it's a right that I think other residents deserve because of puppy stores. My parents were always able to get puppies for me, and I was always able to have a beautiful little furry friend, which that gave me the concept and the idea that the adopt, don't shop motto is actually completely flawed. It's terrible in my opinion because it puts 2 parts of the dog world at odds when they really desperately need each other. I truly believe that everyone should be able to rescue a dog and give them love, but everyone in Henderson and all of Nevada still should be able to reserve the right to get themselves a puppy from a certified breeder and have to be able to mold and love from a very young age. And I do want to say I'm very much against the closing of puppy stores just because of the unforeseen and foreseen ramifications that it could just have on the small businesses and the general morale of Henderson citizens. So I guess I just want to say I'm very against shutting down puppy stores, and I'm very discerned about hearing voices that are more okay with opening new pipelines to black market shopping than voices that are saying, let's do the hard work for the regulations. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Al Fernandez. I'm an owner of one of the pet stores in Henderson. I don't have anything prepared written down like a lot of the directors of shelters that you heard from earlier with the numbers and facts that they have. But I will be honest in the way of facts. First of all, we at our store work with only certified, and yes, they're USDA breeders, but also the Canine Care Program. Majority of of our dogs come from canine care certification. Also, I have 7 dogs personally. 2 are from adoption shelter centers, and the 5 other dogs that I own are from breeders that I use in my own store. Now, you know, the animal activists are very good in painting a picture of how terrible puppy mills are. And to be honest with you, if we see those pictures, I don't think there's a person on this earth that wouldn't get upset by seeing how some of the conditions those animals have lived in. But most of their information and most of that knowledge that they're talking about was from 7 to 10 years ago, because I know today that we don't work with any one of those breeders. In fact, here in Nevada, there's not breeders. Commissioner Knapp said that breeders won't work with pet stores. That's a lie. There's actually breeders that we work with that are the top 1% across the United States. So I don't know where he got those facts, but that's wrong. Also, we don't work with any breeders in Nevada because they're horrible. They're not regulated. They're all backyard breeders. And these are the problems. Closing pet stores is not going to help shelters. In fact, we have our own rehoming program. If you can't, for some reason, keep your or take care of your dog, you can bring it back here in the store and we will find a home for it. None of our dogs in 5 years that I've been in business have ever ended up in a shelter. And I make sure of that because we keep in contact with all our customers. We have a 5-star rating. So the pet stores and all the thing, and I've been a Henderson resident for 25 years. So the fact some of them said that the money goes out of state, that's wrong. And sick dogs, we isolate our dogs for a week. There's absolutely shutting down pet stores is not the answer. Regulation is, just like they did in swimming pools with Nevada. Hey, you couldn't build, we had a water problem, so you couldn't build that big of a gallonage. So they reduce the regulations, and now they're working with each other. Otherwise, you would have had people building pools in their backyard and falling in safety issues. That's going to be the same thing. If you ban pet stores, the black market will double. I have friends in California.
Thank you, sir. If you have additional comments, sir, you have exceeded your 2 minutes. We appreciate the time taken as business owner. If you have additional comments, you can submit them to our committee secretary. ABH, is there anyone else on the line wishing to testify in opposition?
Yes, Chair, one moment, please.
Hi, my name is Diana Kirkland, and I've been the owner of Petland Henderson for the past 4 years. I strongly oppose AB 487 that would shut down legitimate businesses like ourselves and will have impact on the 24 people we employ and their livelihood. As a woman-owned business, it has been my #1 goal to put the welfare of our animals as the uppermost top priority. We make sure we buy from ethically sourced breeders, and we know that. How? Because we have visited every single breeder that we buy from, and we make sure to inspect every facility to make sure it is clean, it has happy, healthy adult dogs, and we make sure that they work hand in hand with the veterinarian. And we will not buy from any breeder that has had any sort of USDA inspected direct breeder violation for the past 3 years. We have a constant loop of video in our store that shows where each of our puppies and kittens come from as proof that we do not work with puppy mills. There is nothing hidden from these videos because, as I have said, we have personally visited them. The beauty of any pet store is that an individual or a family gets to meet the puppy or kitten of their dreams, where they get to touch, play with, and spend quality time getting to know the personality of that puppy or kitten to see if it's the right fit for that individual or family. We wholeheartedly agree with and support the highest standards and regulations to be put in place for Nevada pet stores. If there is a bad actor store out there buying from puppy mills, by all means, we agree and support shutting them down. But please don't punish all pet stores that abide by the rules and keep the highest of standards for animal welfare and ethically sourcing. Please put in place sensible regulation that will in turn protect consumers that want to buy the puppy or kitten of their choice that will meet the needs of their family. Our business also contributes to meaningful tax revenue and supports other small businesses associated with the pet industry. In closing, this bill will not serve animal welfare. It will reduce regulator control by driving underground markets. It will drive purchase dollars out of state and provide fewer protections for the consumer. People desire to meet their best friend or family member in person. It is an experience that pet stores provide and allows people the freedom to exercise their right of choice. I urge you to keep legitimate pet stores in business. Thank you.
Hi, Chair, members of the committee. I'm Brilling Smith. That's BOB-RILLINGSMIT, the American Kennel Club. We first want to thank Assemblymember Anderson and the Assembly Natural Resources Committee for continuing to allow responsible breach transfers to continue. We'd also thank all stakeholders here for their concern for the welfare of animals, even those we are not in alignment with on this issue. However, ending consumer choice and pushing pet store sales into the shadows, as AB 487 currently would do, along with hurting small businesses, is a bill the committee should oppose. This bill will not stop the purported out-of-state pipeline of puppies into Nevada. California, as has been mentioned, has banned pet store sales and still has seen tens of thousands of dogs transferred into the state over the past few years. We urge you instead to focus on strengthening consumer protection instead of ending pet store sales completely. Thank you for your time.
ABH, is there anyone else on the line wishing to provide opposition testimony?
Hi. Yes, hi. I want to start. My name is Evelyn Strickley, Strkley. I have no vested interest as I'm not a pet store owner. I have owned pets in my life. And just listening to everything, the issue it sounds like here is the regulation. I don't think shutting down all pet stores, especially when there's good owners, one, it's not the American way. We always want to encourage free enterprise and other things. All of the people who've spoken before in opposition make excellent points that, hey, great, get rid of the bad breeders. It sounds like you guys with the investigation have done that and shut them down and put some in jail. Wonderful. Continue to do that. But do not take away the livelihood of people who follow the rules, who do what's right, who follow the regulations, who work with certified breeders. There is other ways to do this without doing a complete ban. You know, if you want to stop some of this stuff, then carve out something so that business owners can still survive and do the right thing. If you look at all the facts and numbers, as was stated by some of the people before, this is a very emotional issue. You see those pictures? Yeah, you want to go out there and hurt these people. However, the people you're going to punish are the ones that protect these animals, that do the right thing, and that allow, as someone says, families to have the choice to go to a puppy store or go to a shelter or do other things. So I just believe that shutting this down and shutting down these companies will not solve the problem. Nevada needs to work on the proper regulation and put the people in place that it needs to be done versus just going, hey, let's get rid of the problem, let's just shut it all down. I am in opposition. Thank you so much.
Hello?
Hello, you can begin when you're ready.
My name is Jeff Sutherland, Sutherland. I also not a pet store owner, but I've been listening to this testimony, and I do agree with the last caller. I think we can all agree that puppy mills, by definition, are bad. We've heard testimony of poor conditions and pictures and video of poor situations, and I think we all agree that that's not good. But I've also heard testimony that even the senators have had great experiences with pet stores, even own dogs from a pet store. And another senator mentioned trying to find a common ground here. And I think that's where we're at, because it seems to me that we're using the guise of the puppy mill to close down the pet stores or shut down this part of the business of the pet stores. And I think that's misdirecting the issue. Regulation, I think, is the answer. It seems to me that stores like this Petland in Henderson are actually doing the right thing, going to respectable breeders, and there is some miscommunication and some maybe not accurate information being put out to the public about the types of dogs and cats and animals they're getting. And I think that should be addressed and figured out first before someone makes a decision. I think the standards should be increased. I think we should be not probably using pet mills, but respectable, authorized breeders that are doing the right thing. And then I also think we should take it one step further and work with the shelters. I think there could be a day, a week, a month where we work hand in hand in concert with each other. I would imagine that there are plenty of people who can't afford a purebred puppy or a dog or their cat that they want at the pet store. But there's, like you said, there's plenty of dogs at the shelters for them. If they work hand in hand in concert with each other, I think that's a great way for them to work and meet in the middle and find a solution that works for everybody. I think we deserve a freedom of choice in terms of where we get our pets from, such as a pet store if we wanted to. If that aren't in the cards, then a shelter. But again, that should be the choice of the consumer. I also believe that if we don't do that, you're going to drive all this stuff to the black market. And if you don't have any control over the puppy mills and bad breeders now, you're definitely not going to have any control of it once you push them to the black market. So I do think getting it out in the open and controlling it is the way to go. Thank you for your time.
Chair, there are no further callers wishing to testify in opposition at this time.
Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify neutral? Seeing none, anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify neutral? And AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify neutral?
If you would like to testify in neutral for AB 487, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, my name is Patricia and I oppose this. I have adopted animals from the shelter. I have saved animals from the street. I have always gone into pet stores to look at animals, and I agree with Evelyn and Mr. Sutherland and the fact that you're going to take away people's choices. You can't close stores down because of the puppy mills. You need to do something about the black market puppy mills. The company I go to, the puppy store, the containment for the dogs are 4 foot by 4 foot. Every dog that is in their store, whenever you walk into their store, is completely happy. You know, I went and got a puppy from a rescue, and it tried biting my granddaughter, so I returned it. When we came into the puppy store, there was not one puppy here that did not lick her or make her laugh. So you can't take away these companies. You've got these, you know, family-owned companies. You're shutting them down. People are losing their businesses. How are people supposed to survive when you're taking every choice or option away from them? You guys need to find another way to fix this problem. You know, go for the companies, go for the puppy stores that aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. But, you know, give credit where credit is due to the companies and the puppy stores that are doing right and are following up and answering their phones and making sure the dog's getting their shots and, you know, just checking in to see how they're doing, and the families that bring the dogs in to come back and visit the puppy stores. You know, you need to think about that. You're just saying, well, you know what? This is an easy problem. We'll just stop it. You can't do that. You have to find a middle ground for these puppy stores that are doing right by everyone, following the rules, following the laws. You know, you can't just close them down because you don't want to work hard or find a solution to what needs to be done.
You know, I don't agree with you closing the puppy stores unless they are the bad puppy stores. Otherwise, you need to give credit where credit is due.
Thank you. AVH, is there anyone else on the line wishing to provide neutral testimony? And we'll put that in opposition testimony.
Hello.
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Kathleen Vinluan, that's Vinluan, and I'm the manager at Puppy Boutique Las Vegas. I strongly oppose Assembly Bill 487. I've worked at Puppy Boutique Pet Store since 2011, and our puppies are more than cared for. They're spoiled. We make sure they go home ready for a lifetime commitment. We also have a vet that comes visit weekly, and any puppy needing medical attention is sent immediately to our vet. AB 487 unfairly targets responsible pet stores and good certified breeders. It won't stop puppy mills or reduce overpopulation. The real problems are backyard breeding, irresponsible ownership, and unregulated imports. We even share adoption links in our website, but consumers often return, saying shelters don't carry the specific breeds they're looking for. The only time you'll typically find purebred puppies in a shelter is when a backyard breeder has been caught and reported. What's worse is that when breeders do the right thing and obtain a USDA license, they're unfairly labeled right away as puppy mills. That's damaging and misleading narrative that punishes those following the law. Pet stores, private breeders, shelters, rescues are all responsible options. Consumers deserve the right to choose, and that choice should be respected. Please reject AB 487 and support real, fact-based solutions. Thank you.
If you would like to testify in neutral for AB 487, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last
Hello?
3 digits ending in 855, you are unmuted and you may begin.
Hi, my name is Alex Carrasco. I'm a resident of Henderson, Nevada. And first of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone for caring so deeply about these animals. Every voice matters, and it clearly, you can tell everyone's speaking from the heart. I just want to add that I am against AB 487, and I'm an owner of 2 rescues and a puppy that I purchased in Nevada from a puppy store. Now, I love my rescues, but they come with a lot of health problems and a lot of money that I've spent on them. And I am still in contact with the people at the puppy store that I purchased the puppy from, and they've helped me with training, with diet and everything. They provide a lot, and they're a family-owned store, and they've done great. So I just want to add this. While shutting down irresponsible sources is crucial, the majority of dogs entering shelters today aren't coming from puppy stores. They're coming from backyard breeders and online sellers who post litters for a few $100s without any screening. These dogs are often impulse purchases because there's no education, no contract, no commitment expected. On the other hand, someone spending money at a puppy store is, rarely making an impulse buy. People that are willing to invest that much into a puppy are emotionally and financially prepared for that responsibility. If we eliminate all regulated puppy sales without addressing unregulated breeding, we risk creating a future where good, healthy dogs are hard to find, and the underground market's just going to grow even worse. What we really need is a stronger regulation, not just bans. Holding every breeder accountable, ensuring responsible ownership, and educating the public so fewer animals end up homeless in the first place. I really think that the goal here is to save lives, and we're all in it for the same thing. But I just want to say thank you again to everybody for standing up for them, and every step we take in the right direction matters. Thank you. And again, I'm opposing AB 487.
Okay, we'll put that under opposition testimony. AVH, is there anyone else online that would like to provide testimony in neutral?
If you would like to testify in neutral for AB 487, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits ending in 197, you are unmuted and you may begin.
Hello, this is David Hernandez. I'm against the stores that we need to shut them down for one reason, and they're all the stores that have deal with the dogs. I bought a dog recently on January of this year, and that dog, when we got it, within 2 weeks, the dog started having seizures. So I actually got kind of scared, took it to the hospital, and I went back to actually to the store about the concern that the puppy was sick. Well, the puppy store told me, well, you didn't get a sick puppy. Yes, the seizures can happen for anything. And I go, sir, the puppy had been sick when you had it. So basically, I did a little research and contacted the breeder. The breeder was willing to give me another dog, so I didn't have to do anything. These guys are getting away for selling sick puppies and not doing anything for the customer. Right now, I'm dealing with $20,000 in medical bills and dealing to see my puppy going through seizures every 3 weeks, having 3. Even my son goes through that and stays with them all the time because it's hard to see your puppy dealing with these things. And I'm not going to put him to sleep. I even talked to the owner at the store and I said, look, what are you going to do for me?
Thank you so much. You've exceeded your 2 minutes. Believe that was support testimony. Okay, perfect. Any other people on the line for neutral testimony? Neutral. That means.
Thank you, Chair. There are
Okay, go ahead.
Chair. There are no further callers.
Okay, I was just
in support or neutral at this time. Thank you.
sharing that for myself. Thank you, ABH. And there is no closing comments. So we are going to close the hearing on AB 487. And our last piece of our agenda is public comment. Is there any public comment? Seeing none here. Is there any public? I don't see any public comment in Las Vegas. AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to provide public comment?
If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 now to be placed in the queue.
Oh,
hello.
Is your puppy providing public comment, or is that you?
Yes.
Okay,
it's me.
Our secretary is going to have to put this on the record as woof woof woof. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. My name is Calvin Reginaldo, Reginaldo, and I've been the assistant manager here at Puppy Boutique for about 16 years now, and I oppose AB 487. This bill unfairly
Thank you
targets
so much,
responsible
sir.
pet
We had
stores
closed
and
the
licensed
hearing
breeders.
on that. We closed the hearing, and we're now on to public comment. Do you have anything outside of the bills discussed today that you would like to share to the Committee of Natural Resources? Okay. AVH, is there anyone else on the line wishing to provide public comment? Okay.
Hello?
We're only taking public comment. We're not hearing about any of the bills. Are you providing public comment?
I just want to say with everything that's been said, I think that the stores should be left open and something needs to be done about
Thank you
the
so
illegal
much.
puppy mill.
We appreciate it, but we had closed that hearing and now we're on to public comment. So anything outside of those bills that have to do with Natural Resource Committee. Anyone else, AVH?
Hello? Hello?
Hi, are you providing public comment outside of the bills we heard today?
Well, I want to know what you guys consider public comment.
So we closed the hearing on both of our bills, and now public comment is anything that has to do with the Committee of Natural Resources that is not about the bills heard today.
Okay, well, then I guess I have nothing to say.
But if you do
So
have
it would
public
be about
comment,
what was
you could
discussed
write,
today.
you can write it and submit it to our committee secretary, so we can still have it on the record.
What is the address for that?
So you would go on the Nevada Legislative website on Nellis, and then you can go to the bill, and it will show the committee it's in, and there'll be email addresses there on how to send that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
If you are just now joining us and you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to provide public comment at this time.
Thank you. We will now close. What are we doing now? Adjourn the meeting. Everybody have a great day. Thanks.